Welcome back to Boxing Legends TV's big year-end recap for the sport of boxing. Hopefully, you guys have all seen part 1 of the video with categories like the best Matrix boxer and knockout of the year. Today, we'll be taking a look at the legendary categories like Fighter of the Year and the Heart Racing Fight of the Year, which, by the way, has been extremely hard to narrow down.
A big hook to the body of Redcat. Back comes Molina. Redcat's tied up, and he's looking for the counters. This one, it's over.
If you enjoy our videos, please hit that thumbs up button, as it goes a long way to helping our channel grow, and we're trying to reach our goal of 1 million subscribers in 2018. I knew at some point I would have to narrow all the great fights from this year down to just 3 minutes, and I can tell you it's been tough.
You have it. What did we say about kicking off the year with a bang?
At number 3, we have round 1 from Conor Benn versus Cedric Pinault on December 13th.
Fifth and final appearance of 2017 for Conor Benn, who's packed it into the last 6 months.
In what was supposed to be another flashy learning performance for young Conor Benn, he had to learn the hard way that a motivated journeyman can beat the best of an inexperienced prospect if given the chance, and he almost did that by scoring 2 knockdowns in the opening round.
Real experience for Benn, but going over America in the right hand. Floors him in the first minute of the first round.
Ben, just like his father would have, decided to go all guns blazing instead of getting on his bike, and the first round became a shootout.
The lack of defense, and what can Peno do? He's going for it here with right hands. And how will Conor Benn to react to the biggest crisis of his career so far? He reacts with fire. That's what he does. What a tear-up here in the first round, until he was turned over by Michael Watson. But that was a level higher, much higher than this. And Benn trying to get his own right hands going, but back comes Peno again. But he's being counted by Bob Williams. And Benn taking body shots. Down twice. Oh, and he's really putting it all on the line here, Conor Benn. He's all about massive risks here, Tony. That was the most dramatic 3 minutes in any prospect's career this year.
In what could have become upset of the year, instead it became a genuine contender for fight and comeback of the year for Benn. The two exchanged relentlessly for the remaining 5 rounds, and Benn, in my opinion, rightfully edged out a decision.
I learned from this. I'm only 21 years old, and I went through the trenches, which half the novices don't do.
I remember being overly excited when the 2 heavyweight prospects, Izu Agona and Dominic Brazil, were paired up to match each other on February 25th.
Ugono, by the way, is 6'5", but you see Brazil towers over him at 6'7 plus.
Brazil was coming off a pretty brutal defeat to Joshua, and Izu had the looking of a potential major threat to the champions if he kept performing like he was at a lower tier. The perfect matchup became the perfect fight. Both men traded big bombs for the first 2 rounds, with perhaps Izu looking the more dangerous, but things took a turn in the third.
Worked for him, and keep an eye on that. Tonight he made it from round 8 of 10.
Yeah, another one, his celebrity in his home country. Again, he obviously is unique, goes to the body again, and then the head. Ooh, and a good right hand by Ugono. Oh, and down he goes.
What did I tell you?
He stepped in too close to Brazil and paid the price.
Instead of trying to hit him with the big shot. Ugono's recovered quite quick.
Another right hand by Brazil.
He's showing a good chin there.
Yes, but he's also showing the inexperience. He should be holy, but he hurt.
Big right hand, Ugono, and then goes to the body. I don't know if the right hand caused that, though. And another right hand by Ugono. Wild right hand, it caught him on the temple. Quick heads, I guess. He slowed things down. Big right hand, and right off the shoulder again. Ugono measuring his man after being drilled. Has Brazil in trouble. Knock Brazil down as well. And you have to go 10-8. Big right hand by Brazil. At the bell. Wow.
Ugana scored a knockdown in the 4th, but once again, Brazil showed that big heart and battled back to win the fight in the 5th by a knockout. Round of the year for me will have to go to the most anticipated showdown of the year between Canelo and Triple G.
And it's going to be a great fight. I mean, I can see this fight taking place, shaping out like Thomas Hearns versus Marvelous Marvin Hagler.
Arguably, the top two, or two of the top three pound-for-pound fighters in the world putting each other's skills to the test for 12 rounds was a thing of beauty. And the way they ended the fight in the last round showed what might become of the rematch when it takes place in 2018.
Now we come to the 12th round. Only one of these two fighters has scored a 12th round knockout in his career. That was Canelo against Ryan Rhodes. It was a good uppercut for Canelo Alvarez. And knockout punch now. Canelo has come out as the aggressor in the book. And he lands a big right hand that may momentarily have bothered Golovkin.
But these moments decide the fight.
Out on its feet. Golovkin finished with a slow rally.
114, 114, a three-way split. This is officially a draw.
Again, trying to narrow down the best prospects of the year has been hard.
Really excited to see the professional journey of this 23-year-old Northeast talent, Josh Kelly.
I've previously mentioned pretty boy Josh Kelly in my last video, so I decided to leave him off here. In his place at number 3, we have the former kickboxing world champion, Alexei Popin, who simply has physics-defying speed for a man of his size.
Дает тому развить никакую атаку. И продолжает, да, и снова, вот, в принципе, как мы и ожидали.
I've read through all the other media outlets' lists this year, including Ring Magazine's and ESPN's, but nowhere did I see Popin's name mentioned. The cruiserweight from Russia has put out 4 quality performances this year, with his most notable coming over the former Sergey Kovalev victim, Ismail Silak, in November.
Левый сбоку, Папин попадает. Здорово, и включается Папин. Продолжает еще один левый сбоку. Есть попадание, просаживается, Зилан проигрывает.
I think Popin will be a serious threat in the cruiserweight division this year, and at the age of 30, he better get a move on it if he wants to stamp a great legacy and earn some good money. Our predictions from last year came true once again, as we featured Josh Taylor as our number 2 prospect of the year. And well, to put it bluntly, he overexceeded my initial expectations.
Oh, and a big shot there at the beginning of the second round, and Taylor has him down.
The 11-0 former established amateur outboxed, outwitted, and mentally crushed the hot rising star O'Hara Davis in July, who many thought would beat him, including the odds makers. This was arguably in the running for the performance of the year as well, and just a few months later he defeated the tough Mexican former world champion Miguel Vasquez in a hard-fought bout.
2 uppercuts in succession, followed by a left hook from Taylor. Turning up the temperature here, Josh Taylor and Vasquez.
It's been a good year for Josh, and I personally think we'll see him fight for a world title next year, and win it. My slight bias for the heavyweight division has to unfortunately shine once again, but there is something about a massive modern-day tank heavyweight destroying everyone by knockout that excites me.
And now, that's surely it.
I won't go out on a limb and predict a big 2018 for Britain's Daniel Dubois, as I think his promoter Frank Warren knows how long the road ahead of him is at the tender age of just 20.
How he doesn't rush things. He might get guys out of there in a round. Sounds like a contradiction, but he doesn't rush things. The feet are right, the hands are right, the basics are there.
I want to see more tiny little step-ups and proper learning. That's what every young, inexperienced fighter needs. And if he can earn a ton of money and hype doing it, well, only a hater can hate on that.
And I'm on record as saying he's the hardest single punching heavyweight I've ever seen in this country.
Yeah, me done talking. Yeah, me does them gun barking you. Yeah, me done talking. Yeah, me does them gun barking you.
Some people might be wondering where Joshua vs. Klitschko has been during both parts of the videos. The unfortunate underlying fact is, if we show the bout, we'll get the video blocked worldwide. So I agree that perhaps Round 5 was worthy of a mention in Round of the Year, and the whole fight is honestly my pick for Fight of the Year as well. But we had to improvise to bring 3 others that I felt were equally as impressive to watch.
That ends it all, then I'm gone.
At number 3, we have the all-Mexican affair between the ever-marching warlord Francisco Vargas and rising contender Miguel Berchelt.
Мексики, города Мехико. Франциско, столичная штучка Варгас.
This fight was pretty much everything you'd expect from two lower-weight Mexican fighters. A genuine phone booth fight that eventually led to bloody faces and a knockout.
It's ecstasy! Astonishing! This is not just a dream, it's a wet dream of orgasmic proportions. Astonishing hit! The placement is emphatic! The power, incredible with that technique! But this is a combination of truly sweet grace under pressure. Astonishing again! From the man that makes us shake our heads and say, what was that?
At number 2, we have the only fight from the year which left a boxer genuinely wanting their two front teeth for Christmas, between Badou Jack and James DeGale.
Excellent quality. And a drive from DeGale now, body and head.
Looking for that looping right hand over the top. It's a tricky shot from Jack. He comes forward and swings it around. Good return from Jack.
The fight had everything a fan could ask for. Multiple knockdowns, great consistent action, even the referee enjoyed it, so much so that he decided to get in on the action.
Really driving these shots in, up close. Oh, and Arthur McKenzie, the referee, just gets in there.
In all seriousness, the fight was a very close one to call. I personally felt Jack edged it out by a round or two, but the judges felt otherwise and scored it a draw. If you want to go back and watch it to decide for yourself, don't just look at the post-fight pictures because they do tell a rather different story of events. Whether this fight was actually the best or not is kind of irrelevant to me, but I felt it was so criminally underrated, I decided to put it number 1 out of protest.
Cuadras has the personality to be a breakout star, and he can fight, but he's got to fight well enough to separate himself from Estrada, who is an excellent world-class fighter himself.
The all-Mexican affair between Juan Francisco Estrada and Carlos Cuadras took place on HBO's awesome Super Flyweight card in September. It was the same night Roman Gonzalez got starched in a huge upset, so I can see why people maybe forgot about it. The epic back and forth was like something out of a movie for the first 10 rounds. They exchanged at an astronomical rate, with both men landing in very similar numbers. I personally felt Cuadras was slightly edging out the battle until the first and only knockdown in round 10, and then Estrada arguably took over and earned a unanimous decision by just 1 point on all 3 judges' scorecards.
I think that Estrada can start punching. Look at that! Down goes Cuadras on a straight right hand by Estrada. And finally Estrada finds the key for turning the fight around.
Estrada fought with more energy in this round. I don't know if you call it another gear, but he was able to recapture what started making this fight special. Can Cuadras fight it off?
Estrada!
This is the biggest category of the year, but honestly the easiest for me to narrow down.
Show that Terrence Crawford is already the number 1 140-pound fighter in the world. His ambition is to become number 1 pound for pound.
At number 3, we have Anthony Joshua after his emphatic record-breaking showdown with Vladimir Klitschko, and then his almost record-breaking clash with Carlos Ducan. As I mentioned earlier, the Klitschko fight was immense to watch, and I would advise anyone to seek it out if you haven't already. It was mainly his epic comeback performance that warranted Joshua placement here today. What he has done for heavyweight boxing, and just boxing in general this year, has been amazing. He's really got a bunch of new faces interested in the sport again, as he improved to 20 wins with 20 knockouts. And hopefully 2018 brings even more excitement to the sport if he can match up with both Joseph Parker and Deontay Wilder. In the runner-up position, we have Mr. Matrix himself, Vasily Lomachenko.
He says, come on, I'm going to sit right here in this neutral corner. You come to me. Look at this.
If you have seen part 1, you'll know why and how Lomachenko's 2017 was amazing. He put on 3 great performances that led to all 3 fighters quitting on their stool. A very strange occurrence, but when you witness the sort of skill he brings to the ring, it becomes more understandable.
Are you kidding me? The undefeated number 7 pound-for-pound fighter is not coming out to continue against Loma.
Lomachenko closed out the year with a huge pound-for-pound win over Guillermo Rigondeaux, a fight that between 30 to 40% of my fans thought he would lose, and to be honest, he did it with absolute ease.
That's 4 guys that don't come out of their corner in a row. What's your new nickname?
Maybe I changed my second name. Maybe I changed, and now my name is Nomaschenko. All right.
At number 1, we have the man that is looking just about as close to a perfect fighter as can be, Terrence "Bud" Crawford.
Nothing you could do about it. What a punch, what a delivery.
Crawford started the year with a solid performance over the underrated and dangerous Felix Diaz, and then went on to make history by unifying and becoming the undisputed champion of the 140-pound division by capturing all 4 of the major titles against Julius Ndongo.
With the victory, but it feels great. It feels, man, like a dream come true.
Crawford beat Ndongo easier than any of his 31 previous opponents with a third-round knockout, and became the first undisputed champion since 2005 when Jermaine Taylor beat Bernard Hopkins. That's a long 12 years, and just goes to show how hard it is to achieve. Crawford's plan for 2018 is a move to welterweight to take on the pound-for-pound stars like Keith Thurman or Errol Spence Jr., both of whom are mouth-watering showdowns that will escalate him to serious superstardom if he can come through.